Well, that main event was certainly something, wasn't it? But was it something really good? Was it something really bad? Was it something really damn great? Or was it something absolutely abysmal? You'll have to wait to find out. I'm Rant with my review of AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest Week 2 in Duluth/Atlanta, Georgia. Oh boy, let's have some fun with this. Let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. Excalibur, Taz, and Tony Schiavone start Hour 1, and then JR joins for Hour 2. I like the fact that they're bringing JR out for Hour 2. He feels fresher. He doesn't have to call so much stuff and be tired and everything. Using him sparingly is the right call. So we start off with Brody King making his entrance to a pretty big pop, and also Darby Allin with Sting! Because we don't get to see Hook, we have to talk about Sting! Anyway, so it is Brody King versus Darby Allin. It's David versus Goliath, and Darby starts, hot, but gets shut down pretty quickly, and Brody beats the shit out of him for quite a while. In fact, he beats the shit out of him for about 80% of this fucking match. Brody's a big guy. I've seen him live. TV doesn't do justice for just how big he is. And these two have competed at numerous shows in historic Washington Hall in Seattle, Washington. And it was cool to see this match on a big stage. And Darby did make his comeback, did hit some good stuff, hit a really nice cannonball. Even using his bell to tie up Brody King's feet just to gain an advantage. He was having to do every goddamn thing he could. But eventually, even though Darby just kept going at him, he eventually got choked out. He got back in the ring, got hit with the Gonzo Bomb. 1, 2, 3. Brody King gets the victory fairly decisively. Okay, I'm not going to necessarily complain. Darby, more often than not, has been pretty protected in this company, so Brody King beating him, provided that they don't just totally torch this goddamn thing, that's a pretty big deal. And then we get Darby being choked out because he can't leave well enough alone. Here's Sting! And Sting shows up and he gets Brody King in the Scorpion because he's Sting-vincible. But aha, the lights go out for about 2 fucking years. And then suddenly Malachi is there. And then he just looks at him. And then Brody starts choking out Sting. And because Malachi is not really great at spraying the mist, he gets it on Sting. He also gets some on Brody King because you can see some of it on Brody. So Brody should have been like, boss, why'd you do this? God fucking damn it. And then here's Miro. And Miro has sunglasses. He wears his sunglasses at night so he can keep track of the visions in CJ Perry's thighs. But nevertheless, he's got one shade a little bit darker, one lens a little bit darker. He's got an eye patch. Oh no, could he possibly be infected by the mist? Could we see Miro as a part of the House of Black? Or is it a ruse? Is it, ruse shoes? Shoes for your feet and pockets for your stuff. God damn, those were actual things that existed at one point. Anybody remember Rouge shoes? Boy, you're really old and, you love obscure shit like I do if you remember that. But yeah, Sting got the miss and so did Brody King. Yet only Sting was effective. I guess he's not Sting-vincible when he's missed it. But then again, it gave him flashbacks to when the Great Muta sprayed him in the face. Which sounded a lot less dirty in my head before I said it, nevertheless. So, God, they just can't leave well enough. Miro, the stuff they're doing with Miro, he got a pretty big pop, so hopefully he won't join the House of Black, or if he does, it'll just be, it'll just be a trick, and he will take out everybody. He will burn the House of Black to the ground. Where's Buddy Ben, by the way? Where's Buddy Ben? So, Schiavone is with Cole Carter. I did not realize he was the former Troy Donovan from NXT, which means that I remember seeing Cole Carter on some AEW Dark and Dark Elevation programs. And that's really cool that he's back in AEW. I don't know what the reason was, the exact reason as to why WWE released him, some drug policy or wellness violation issue. Okay, he was there and Stark said, well, the last time we saw you, you were sleeping with the fishes and now you're swimming with the sharks because, they killed him off by throwing him off a river. Because NXT 2.0 is a real weird show that loves to just mess shit up. But anyway, Cole kind of cuts a bit of a stagey promo. He has a good look, but this promo, that kind of wasn't it. So, Wild Thing, you make Duluth/Atlanta sing. And the best friends are there, along with Orange Cassidy. But Orange Cassidy goes to commentary, so does Regal. Orange Cassidy, I think, says a couple things on commentary. Regal is just having the time of his life. And it's Moxley and Yuta versus the best friends. I'm going to say right now, I'm sick of the best friends. I don't want to see them anymore. Don't want to see them anymore. This match had everybody kicking out of everything. Now, Wheeler and the Best Friends do have a little bit of history, so I guess that sort of made sense for this, but this is kind of a match I really didn't care that much about. Eventually, even though Moxley, you would have thought Moxley might have gotten the victory. Nope, they just decided to have Wheeler get the seatbelt clutch and pin, I believe, Chuck Taylor 1, 2, 3. So there you go. He could have been Chuck, he could have been Trent, he could have been both of them. In fact, I would have preferred he pinned both of them because really, I don't want to see the Best Friends on my television anymore. So there you go. That's it for that. And a video package on Claudio and Gresham. And Ian Riccaboni chimes in. This is going to be for the Ring of Honor World Championship at Death Before Dishonor. I want to say right now, I will not be watching Death Before Dishonor. Not that I don't think the pay-per-view will be good, but it has to do a little bit with finances. I'm not being frugal with my money. I just don't want to spend $40 on a show where I might care about 2 matches. Just saying. And also, I'm going to be doing a gaming stream with my best friend, aka the Durbinator, on Saturday afternoon / evening. It's going to be just after, somewhere around maybe 4 p.m. West Coast time. So adjust your cocks accordingly, or your clocks, or whatever. I'm not here to kink shame much, but get ready to tune in. It's going to be fun, live game stream, and there's going to be just a lot of laughs. So anyway, Death Before Dishonor. That should actually be a pretty good pay-per-view. I hope that they get some good buy rates. I hope that Ring of Honor can get a TV deal. I doubt it at this point, but I hope that they can. I have also noted that Gresham is the same height, standing up or sitting down. So, then because of Shark Week coming up, they have Chompy, the shark mascot, there. Okay. Shivani introduces Swerve in Our Glory, Shane Swerve Strickland, and Keith Lee. And they have Cake and Shane Shampagan. I didn't realize you were such a connoisseur. Okay. I'm happy for Swerve. I'm happy for Keith Lee. It was fine at first. They were praising the fans. They were doing this stuff, but they introduced this guy named Kevin Gates, who I have no fucking idea who he was. Apparently, he's a big rapper. Well, I read up on him, and apparently, he's been a naughty little individual. If you read up on his legal issues, if that's what you want to fucking call it. Yeah, okay, they can't allow certain talents on the show, even though I totally understand, but problem people are all over the goddamn world, whether they're in the rap world and the wrestling world, doesn't fucking matter, but just read up on Kevin Gates. Oh boy. Stop being a criminal. Stop being a criminal. Don't do this anymore. What the fuck's wrong with you? So Lee praises the fans, and then here's Sterling and Nice, and this whole petition to get rid of Swerve. And then they go with this Kevin Gates guy. And apparently, since he is known to have assaulted a few people, he didn't stab anybody this time. He punched out Sterling. Well, he punched out Nice, rather, and then Sterling got cake in the face. The cake in the face thing only works if you actually build up to it, and Sterling just doesn't have that much interest. It's nothing against the guy personally. It's just, it's over the top and it's goofy and it's not built up right. Anyway, Shivani is in the boiler room with Silver and Reynolds. They want to give merch or gifts to Butcher and Blade, and then they get the shit beat out of them. Okay. So then Christian Cage and Lucha Source took on the Varsity Blondes. This was quick. Lucha Source basically gloms both of them after Varsity Blondes try to take him down. He chokeslams Griff onto Brian Pillman, or Brian Pillman Jr., that is, and Cage covers him 1, 2, 3. Then suddenly, whoa, Tarzan Boy, the big pop, and Jungle Boy's back. He's got a chair. He stares at Luchasaurus, and he's like, oh, who will Luchasaurus choose? What side will he choose? And suddenly he just stands with Jungle Boy. Okay, so unless that's another ruse, as it were, then they just basically evaporate all that, or they maybe realize we never really explained why Luchasaurus turned heel, so let's just put him back with Jungle Boy. Unless it's going to be Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage in the first match, and then Luchasaurus really does turn heel on him. That's possibly what's going to happen. But Jungle Boy chased after Christian Cage, and Christian ain't as young as he used to be. I mean, and even at his height, I don't think really could, in his prime, really could have raced that fast. But man, Jungle Boy was like, ha ha ha, I'm going to get after you. And then Lexi Nair is with the Gun Club. I have seen this movie before. All About the Acclaim. We're going to have a rap battle between Austin and Max Caster on Rampage. They are loading up Rampage. I didn't say they were loading up with anything good, but that ought to be interesting even on a taped show. So, JR is out for the second hour. Starks gets a pretty good pop, as you would expect. And it's Starks versus Cole Carter for the FTW Championship. Okay, the FTW Championship is pointless. It really has no business being on the wrestling program. But that being said, Starks, he looks like a star. He's great, charismatic as fuck. Guy just exudes that star quality. Cole Carter is not bad. Every time he hit moves, though, he was getting booed like crazy. He did miss his 450 to look pretty brutal. It was like he jammed his head. And Starks hit a spear, sorta, 1, 2, 3. But then he says, hey, wait a second. I feel like having another challenger. Anybody, come on out, because it's an open challenge. And suddenly, Danhausen. No, don't you fucking dare. Don't you fucking goddamn dare. And then he says, well, I'll face you for the FTW Championship and all that. I'm not going to try to do Danhausen stuff. I will say that Starks did a very good impression of him. Brief, but still, it's pretty good. It's going to be a match next week. Don't you dare give Danhausen the FTW Championship. Unless you're going to give it to him, and then that's going to be it for the FTW title. Because really, at this point, Starks has gone about as far as he can with the FTW title. I just fear Danhausen is going to win it. But then we have Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and Athena, and they're backstage because Layla Gray is not medically cleared. Boy, that's disappointing. I don't get to see Layla Gray on my television because she has a great look, a very great look. Statlander is going to be barred from ringside. So it's Willow and Athena against Jade and Kira Hogan. And Athena says, you know what, Statlander could win the World Championship, the AEW Women's World Championship, and I could win the TBS title. And there you go. And Willow's just thinking, I know I'm not signed, but I'm right here, guys. But anyway, FTR comes out, huge pop. I'm not going to get too deep into this because it was just a really classic promo, great wrestling promo. They talked about how they went to war with the Briscoes at Supercard of Honor. Now it's going to be Death Before Dishonor, FTR versus Briscoes 2. And their first match is very, very good. This ought to be no exception. And I would imagine that that FTR will probably end up coming out on top. I kind of hope so, because FTR 3 belts just sounds really good. But Dax tells a story about a 5-year-old girl with a hole in her heart, and the doctors say, well, if you work hard, work hard and everything, you should be able to close that up or whatever. If not, have open heart surgery. That's dangerous for a 5-year-old. And 3 years later, through hard work and everything, the doctor found out the hole had closed, and that girl was Dax's daughter. If that isn't a reason to fucking root for FTR, I don't know what is. You get fucking, excuse me, you get fucking emotional. You are just ready to just absolutely just hug both these guys. I mean, they're shake their hands and just say, thank you so much for being just great professional wrestlers. Really, really good shit. And that was good stuff. That was very, very good. And then we have Lexi with Lethal, Sanjay, and Giant Silva Jr. Daniels is going to challenge Lethal on Rampage. Okay. What happened to Daniels' eye? Is he actually okay? Because I know he's wrestled, on various independents like Defy Northwest at historic Washington Hall. I always say historic because I've been to that place. It's kind of a dump. But it's a cool wrestling atmosphere when they dress it up. That being said, I hope Daniels is all right, because that eye kind of looks a little vicious. But anyway, Jade, Kira, Stokely, and Jermaine Dupri. I know the name Jermaine Dupri. I cannot recall any, songs he did. Rapping really isn't songs at this point. But Jade is from Atlanta, and she'll always be that bitch. Of course you will. So Willow and Athena took on Jade and Kira. Stokely and... I couldn't tell if Stokely was standing up or sitting down or whatever. He's not tall enough to be on any ride. It doesn't matter what it is. But yeah, Jermaine Dupri's there. Okay, they probably should sign Willow Nightingale. I think she's... I know she's worked under the Ring of Honor brand, but nevertheless. Athena does a dive, wiping out everybody, including her partner, which I don't really understand why anybody would like that. And... Jade has a great look. At times, Jade can hit a couple good moves. And a lot of times, Jade looks fucking lost. And people say, oh, well, it's like, well, they gave Goldberg a streak or whatever, and they're giving Jade the same type of streak and everything. It's good for both. I said, the difference is Goldberg's streak drew money. And I'm sorry, maybe a different environment, but all Jade's shows is like, okay, we're just giving her a streak. I just don't buy it. Some people like her, some people don't. That's just my take. And then Jade did 1, 2, 3. It got very, very, very fucking messy at the end. I don't know. This just didn't work for me. Shivani's with Thunderstorm, Tony Storm. Excuse me. Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm as a team. Yes, perfectly fine over here. That is a lot of talent and a lot of beauty on one team. And I emphasize talent because, boy, are they talented. Rosa will face Yamasta. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce the name right. I'm not familiar. And then Britt and Jamie show up. Jamie, Hayter, my goodness. They're going to be in a tag match on Rampage. They may end up giving the title back to Britt. I think that is ultimately a mistake. They have not done right by Thunder Rosa, and it's really fucking stupid. Thunder Rosa may have not been able to be a, year-long women's champion, but you're telling me that somebody who fought is one of the hardest working people in wrestling, has Mission Pro Wrestling, works really hard there, does great shit for her community and communities at large. You're telling me you couldn't have booked her better in the last 3 months or 4 months, actually. She won it back in like mid-March. You're telling me you couldn't book her better? It's fucking ridiculous. Put her on Rampage. Have something happen. Yes, she had that match on Dark, TJPW. I forget exactly what you fucking call it, and I apologize. Yes, that was a very good match on Dark that they broadcast from Japan. That was good, but you can't feature everybody all the time. I get that, but this is your women's champion. If you can't feature her properly, you're doing a disservice to the division. Elevating the champion means elevating the division. That goes for whoever's holding the fucking championship, but Thunder Rosa is the current champion. You could book her better, and you should. Anyway, Rampage is Butcher and Blade versus Hangman and Silver, because apparently Alex Reynolds is still picking his brain off of the wall, judging by the way they were describing that. Lee Moriarty versus Dante Martin. Okay, that'll be some technical wrestling and a lot of flippy shit, and Dante Martin has springs in his legs, I have noted. Lethal versus Daniels. Rap battle and Death Before Dishonor rundown. We get that, and more matches will be added to Fight for the Fallen during Death Before Dishonor. Okay. You could just add more during Rampage. Because Rampage technically is, you could just pipe that stuff in. So, we then get Rosa versus Yamasta. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Starks and Danhausen for the FTW title. And JR was impressed by Excalibur quickly reading whatever the Game of Thrones spin-off trailer is. I have not seen much of Game of Thrones. I don't really fucking care. Some people do, some people don't. It never appealed to me. So anyway, they've even got barbed wire around the microphone and all this gimmick barbed wire and all this bullshit, and these barbed wire boards and barbed wire tables and a barbed wire spider web. Sorry, I'm not home right now. I've got a barbed wire spider bed. Leave a message and I'll call you Ow. And they've got a barbed wire wrapped chair, and they got all this barbed wire. It's barbed wire everywhere, and this is one of the worst motherfucking things that AEW has done in their almost 3 years on TNT. One of the worst atrocities they've done. This is, to me, worse than what they did, the exploding barbed wire death match. Because, look, I didn't care for that fucking match, but that at least was when they had fans, but they didn't have a full crowd. They had a full crowd here. They have had full crowds back for just over a fucking year. This stuff with Jericho is fucking painful. The Jericho Appreciation Society. One of the worst stables in wrestling in the last, 10 years, I'd say. They're suspended in a shark cage. Ruby Soho controls it like Oli did, at Capital Combat 1990. And much like Capital Combat 1990, this match was overbooked and a mess and fucking goddamn ridiculous. But the difference is, at least there was better talent involved in this than there was in Capital Combat 1990 than there was here. That's not knocking Eddie. That's knocking pretty much everybody else. Ruby has been just reduced to absolutely just fuck all. She doesn't mean anything. And it's really fucking ridiculous that Ruby Soho means so little when she got such a monster pop at AEW All Out. And they seemed like they were doing something with her. She could have won the Owen Hart women's tournament. Nope, she didn't. Look out. Britt Baker won. And then look out, Adam Cole, baby, won. I do hope Adam Cole recovers from his concussion, but let's get back to that. So, you have the former 2.0, you have Jake, whoever dresses Jake, if Jake Hager dresses himself, he's a fucking idiot. I mean, he is a fucking idiot anyway, because he supports Trump's. Anybody who supports Trump's a fucking idiot. Like Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's a fucking moron. But Hager just, as a wrestler, as anybody there, it's fucking stupid. He looks like a goddamn goof. He doesn't look like he could whip cream. Yes, he's a legit shooter and everything to an extent. And he has that amateur background. He has that MMA background. But he's dressed like somebody going to like a fucking golf tournament. And also then you have Daniel Garcia, who has been reduced to absolutely nothing. Daniel Garcia may just be mid-card at best, but you're telling me that a guy that technically sound, who is very, very good in the ring, this is the best you're doing? This is basically like taking the young stars and putting them under the thumb of somebody that is just trying to suck whatever relevancy, they may have and put it onto him, because Jericho doesn't have any fucking relevancy. All he has is whatever is back in the past, whatever is back behind him. To the sides, to the back, he doesn't have it in front of him. He has got about this much career left in front of him. And one could argue, actually, he has not had much of a career in front of him since losing the AEW World Championship. And his stuff in the last year and a half has been embarrassing. It has been embarrassing to professional wrestling. It's been terrible. Barbed wire everywhere. Yay. Yay, barbed wire everywhere. Yeah, they haven't gimmicked all this shit up and done all the, all this stuff where they've done just garbage, weaponry, and blood and all this stuff, and overbooked to the point where, oh wow, we haven't seen all this shit happen. We haven't seen people bleed. We haven't seen people do a bunch of shit and kick out of everything, kick out of being hit over the head with a goddamn barbed wire chair that they're either selling like it weighs about 800 pounds or it really did weigh a lot. You probably should have been swinging it anyway. And then the barbed wire stuff where they're really hurting each other. They're really cutting each other. Jericho starts bleeding right away. Poor Aubrey Edwards. I love Aubrey. Great representation of Washington State. And she's a great referee. I felt so bad for Aubrey here. That's my take as a fan. Just my take as a fan. But they just did a bunch of stupid shit. All the goddamn crap. They're bleeding. They're doing this stuff. Eddie may have broken his hand or at least fractured his hand early on. But Eddie's a tough son of a bitch, that is. Can't even, figure out the goddamn right insults. Can't even swear correctly because I'm so goddamn pissed off watching this goddamn thing. And then Ty Conte suddenly attacks Ruby. And then Anna Jay comes down. No, you can't do that. Aha, I turned heel. So, yep, I've written off Anna Jay. Good job there. Let's just associate her with, Ty Conte, the one that likes to be passed around like a joint at a college party. And let's just do that shit. Good stuff. Good job. Good fucking job there. Not that Anna Jay was really going to mean that much in the Dark Order, but she's got potential. Ty Conte is pretty much just neutralized. And then they lower the cage so the entire Jericho Appreciation Society, minus one person, I don't know how nobody knew this was going to happen. They run out, and then Ortiz and the Blackpool Combat Club run out, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and they do all the Benny Hill sketch. Blood. And then Sammy comes out during all this melee and all this bullshit and kicks Kingston. And then we get the Judas effect. And Jericho wins the goddamn match. I know Eddie won at AEW Revolution. And all the other shit kept happening. Blood and guts. Sammy got tossed off the goddamn thing. Okay, whatever. Sammy hasn't been seen in a few weeks. Fine, whatever. Sammy is a much, much better heel. But Jericho won. He's bleeding. He's whatever. Oh, he's the pain maker, Chris Jericho. Yeah, the only pain being made is watching this fucking has-been, this shell, this human deflated waterbed trying to actually fucking move. Jericho cannot fucking go anymore. It ain't even sad at this point. People want to try to compare him to Terry Funk. Here's the difference. Terry Funk actually had talent and kept reinventing himself. Jericho just wanted to carve himself up and get paid a king's ransom to basically shit on wrestling. And that's what he's doing right now. And Eddie attacks Sammy, throws him out of the ring, and then takes Jericho and throws him into the barbed wire spider web. So I guess he won, technically. This means that the feud will continue to at least AEW All Out, which is only 6 weeks away. This should have been it shouldn't have gotten to this fucking point anyway, because it's just more garbage wrestling that they just continue to do. More of this hardcore stuff that if you do it in the right way, it can actually tell a pretty good story. They don't want to tell a good story here. And that's nothing against Eddie. Plenty against Jericho, because he's fucking goddamn lost cause. But they're leeching off of the popularity of Eddie. Oh yeah, the people popped and everything. And you know what? A lot of people watching this, some people may have liked it. If you liked it, that's totally fine. I watched it and was like, that's it? That's what you fucking do? I didn't expect it to be great. I knew it was probably going to just end up being a weapons-filled massacre. But they've done so many weapons-filled massacres. We've had so much other stuff where they just used furniture and just done all the same goddamn stuff. In multiple companies, by the way, it's all just subdued. One of the worst things that AEW has done in their 3 years in existence, and they're almost 3 years on TNT. Anyway, agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rentlin. I'll see you soon.